Okay, greetings adventurers. It's me, Deep Delver, and I'm here with my girlfriend Addy.
That's me. I'm mostly tagging along, which is usually not what you do to a bard. It's usually the other way. But this is a particularly interesting bard, if you ask me.
Yeah, and so I'm playing Torchlight, and I am going for the Deep Delver achievement, which I need to clear 50 floors of the Shadow Vault to get it. I'm currently on floor 46, I believe. So Addy has never played this game, so I'll just go through a brief rundown of things. So this is my character, Valana, who is the Vanquisher class. I am at max level, so yeah. And the Vanquisher is basically the rogue class. I decided to play Vanquisher because I I played I played a bit of this game years ago, and when I played it, then I played as as the alchemist, which is the spellcaster class, and normally I play games as spellcasters, and I've always found warriors kind of boring. So I figured for this playthrough I'd go with the rogue, or vanquisher in this case, which in retrospect was not a smart idea because the vanquisher is even more of a glass cannon than the alchemist is, which I found out the hard way when I started doing the Shadow Vault stuff. So it's been a bit of a slog, but I've got all of my main skills I use for this character maxed out. So the Vanquisher is a mostly a ranged attacker. She uses bows, rifles, crossbows, pistols, stuff like that. My main ability, I'm using a not that's the wrong one. Explosive shot build. So my main ability that I use is explosive shot, which fires this arrow that explodes when it hits things and does AoE damage. And then I also use this ability called Fletchet Trap, which lets me throw out the up to 2 of these turrets, which will fire fletchets at any nearby enemies. And then sort of to supplement all of that, I have Arrow Hail, which calls down like a hail of arrows wherever I position my mouse cursor. So that's how that works. And then I have this ability, which it's kind of useless for offense, but it makes you move around fast, so it can be useful for getting out of a tight space. It's supposed to like inflict some kind of debuff on anything the daggers touch, but I found most enemies are immune to that for some reason, so I mostly just use it as like a dash.
I don't know why you were worried, honey. You speak very eloquently, and you covered a lot of mechanics that I wouldn't have even have thought to ask about, honestly. And you remembered a lot of nuances I might have forgotten if I were the one playing the game.
Yeah. And I don't use them often, but I do have some 2 spells. So spells, any class can learn spells. It's not just the alchemist. But I think the alchemist has the most like skills related to spells. I have a spell of silence, which is supposed to prevent enemies from using special abilities, but it doesn't seem to work, and I'm not entirely sure why. But then I have haste, which it can also be useful for maneuvering. It's a bit hard to control.
It looks like it.
Yeah. And one of the big gimmicks of Torchlight, which was it's a carryover from Fate, is pets. So what? Oh, yeah, already in town. So this is my pet, Balto. And you can equip your pet with spells, but they don't use them, so I don't know why you would equip them with spells. But yeah, so I do have some quests. All of them are on floor 47, so that'll be the next floor from where I am right now. And yeah, my inventory is mostly filled up with potions. I don't... What?
So, you said this game was made by the same folks who made Fate.
Yes.
It definitely looks similar. The user interface, the graphical stylings, the general aesthetic, the town, it all looks so much like Fate.
Yeah, I believe, I think the people who made Fate were, I don't remember if they were former Blizzard employees. I know some of the people who made Torchlight were. But yeah, they're definitely, they're Diablo clones through and through. Torchlight is sort of like I sort of see it as like a halfway point between Fate and Diablo. You can kind of tell it just from like the aesthetics of the town. It's sort of darker and more somber than the town in Fate was, but obviously not as dark as Diablo. So
Look forward to seeing the dungeon crawling.
yeah. So yeah, just gonna return to the dungeon. Those are the other two classes. That's the Destroyer and that's the Alchemist.
All right, so there's only the 3 classes in Torchlight then?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
I was going to ask if there was a bard because you're a bard and it seemed the obvious choice, but I suppose not.
Yeah, unfortunately there is no bard.
The game's hit effects, I think they're called hit sparks, also remind me a lot of Fate. Probably my favorite thing about Fate was the art style, so it's really nice to see that carried over, this big, chunky, cartoony look.
Yeah.
Also,
unfortunately, all of these enemies have ridiculous health.
I mean, it seems like reasonable health to me, but also, you've played 45, was it? 45 floors of this so far.
Yeah,
so,
and this is actually in addition to the I think 30 something floors of the main story dungeon.
Yeah, so after 45 floors of this, I can see how that might get a bit tiresome, them having that much health.
Uh-oh. So these enemy types, these demon-looking enemies, they're some of the most annoying, because there's 2 types of them, and they're a little hard to tell apart. There's the type that just dashes at you. They're not very dangerous, but then there's another type that has magic attacks, and they're the most dangerous enemy type in the game. So whenever you see a group of them clustered around, it's usually spells bad news.
Well, it seems like you figured out how to handle it. Granted, I think that's what I would do too, is run up the stairs and hide. But it seems like that's what this character archetype is for, right? Is you run away and shoot or use your traps. It's a run and gun sort of character. By run and gun, I mean run away and gun. Run forward and gun.
Yeah, they're a hit and run. Uh-oh.
Thank you. That's definitely what I was. That's what I was looking for, was hit and run, but I couldn't find the right words. As soon as I saw you use that sprinting ability, I definitely imagined myself using it to run away from enemies all of the time. So that just seemed appropriate for the character type.
Uh-oh.
Which of these many things is your health?
So that, this circle in the middle, that's my health and mana. The red half is my health.
Okay, I figured so, but I didn't want to assume. I could definitely tell the blue stuff was going down when you cast explosive shot.
Uh-oh.
Explosive shot is very very powerful looking. I imagine through the main game, it was probably a big deal to have that, right?
Yeah, it was.
Is there
Uh-oh, I accidentally let the skeletons out. Uh-oh. And I died.
oh, options?
Yeah, and I just realized that... Well, actually, I can probably just spend experience and fame because I'm at level cap and I don't need them anymore.
Oh yeah. What would you use experience for at this point?
Although it did make me lose some. I'm hoping I don't get level drained if I run out. But I use that option. Normally I just resurrect in town to lose nothing, but I just realized when I warped in here, I didn't create another town portal. And if you don't do that, then if I were to get sent back to town, I'd lose all of my progress.
That would be awful.
Yeah, it would.
So this dungeon, the shadow I can't believe
Shadow
I forgot
Vault.
Thank you. The Shadow Vault. What is it?
It's the Shadow Vault is the post-game dungeon. Man, these skeletons are annoying. Ow, for... Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the skeletons or if it was that big thing shooting me. I'll just...
I mean,
Yeah,
I can't tell what's going on at all. I can tell what shots are yours, but anything else is
Oh yeah, I think it's that thing. Actually, no, I think it's this little turret that's shooting me with the laser. But I think it's dead now. Okay, and that's dead too.
This is like the big challenge post-game dungeon thing. I know a lot of dungeon crawlers have those, but what is it? Like, what is the Shadow Vault?
I don't actually know. So in the once you finish, so the main game dungeon, it starts you off because Torchlight is a mining town. They mine magical ore, and the main game, it starts you off in the mines, and then you descend through the mines through like an ancient lost city. Well, I think you go from the mines then into like this mausoleum area, then into like an ancient lost city, then into some dwarven ruins, then like a hell prison, and deeper and deeper you go until you reach like the dark fortress, deep underground where the final boss is. And then once you beat the final boss, this crypt in the graveyard opens up, and that's the Shadow Vault, and the Shadow Vault just recycles the biomes from the main dungeon.
So it's just a door in the graveyard?
Yeah.
Which biome is this one?
This is the Tomb of the Awakened biome.
Oh, I couldn't even see that text. So in universe though, there's like no one talks about the Shadow Vault or
well,
anything.
I mean, some of the NPCs that give you quests talk about the Shadow Vault, but I don't think there's actually like any any lore to it.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that quest NPCs wouldn't have the most interesting things to say about it. I don't remember Fate being particularly story heavy, but I've only played the first one.
Yeah, this Torchlight does have more of a story than Fate does, but that's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't imagine so. So, I've heard the name Torchlight around. This game had a sequel, right?
Yeah, I've heard the sequel is a lot. The sequel is a lot more popular. The The sequel, it has more classes, it has like overland areas between multiple towns, and it also had multiplayer, so... And it also... Yeah, first one doesn't have multiplayer for some reason. Torchlight 2 also had the fortunate timing of being released around the same time Diablo 3 was, so a lot of people who were dissatisfied with Diablo 3 switched over to Torchlight, and then shortly after that, Path of Exile came out.
I'm a little surprised that it's not multiplayer, but I don't know when this one came out.
I want to say it was like 2009.
Oh, then that makes sense. That makes sense. That was quite a while ago. It seems like most dungeon crawlers, when they come out in the last decade or so, they try to prioritize multiplayer, which I'm not saying is a good thing or a bad thing. It's just noticeable. I haven't played a lot of dungeon crawlers.
I don't know where they came from.
But you were familiar enough with Fate to want to get the Deep Delver achievement and also named yourself after it.
Yeah, Fate was a big part of my childhood. It's actually one of the games that really got me into RPGs.
I think your name is adorable and I love it, so I guess I should thank Fate for that also. I played Diablo 3 multiplayer with my brother and sister for a bit. I don't remember anything about it. Reminded me of Gauntlet.
Yeah, I suppose you could say Diablo's kind of a spiritual successor to Gauntlet in a way. Not directly, but it... But yeah, I have played Gauntlet, and they do have some similarities, definitely.
All these games remind me a little bit of Gauntlet deep down.
Yeah.
The perspective and the dungeon crawling and the character archetypes and all of that.
Yeah, Gauntlet was kind of, I think Gauntlet might have been the first game like that. Because I believe Gauntlet was a big influence on the Tower of Druaga, which I think was technically the first action RPG.
Oh, I love the Tower of Druaga. I would not have called it an action RPG, but...
Well, maybe it's not. I haven't played it. I've only read about it.
Later entries in the series are definitely action RPGs, but it definitely seemed more like an arcadey dungeon delving game than an RPG dungeon delving game.
Well, I know one of the... Okay, actually, if I really think about it, I think... Trying to remember, I did read somewhere what the actual first action RPG was. I think it might have been one of the sequels to the Tower of Druaga. That or a spin-off. I know
original Gauntlet was in the early to mid 1980s, right?
Yeah. And I think Tower of Druaga came out around the same time. In the early to mid 80s, I mean.
Well, so Dragon Buster came out in 1984. It is side-scrolling. It's not top-down like Gauntlet, but you also go through dungeons. It was the first game with a health bar, as far as I remember, and one of the earliest games with a double jump. And you can level up your health bar. There are items to pick up. It's a very loose action RPG, but it did predate Gauntlet by a bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if it goes back further.
I think I got a mini boss. Yeah. Uh-oh.
These names are, I don't want to assume they're not meaningful, but they are. I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to think a Blood Disciple is.
Uh-oh. Yeah, they're like, so these enemies come from the Black Fortress biome, which is the final level or area, zone, whatever of the game. So I guess they're supposed to be like the cultists who worship the big bad or something.
You figure with a title like Blood Disciple, it might be a hard station to reach. Like you have to sacrifice someone to be a Blood Disciple, or sacrifice yourself, maybe cut off an arm or something, or at least donate some of your blood. But there's a lot of them. There's so many Blood Disciples. You've murdered hundreds, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know the more dangerous variety are called the Dark Zealots. And they have
Yeah,
very annoying magic attacks that can one-shot you.
I can definitely get behind Dark Zealots as a name. I have no complaints about that. It's a very romantic name. Darkly romantic, but it's appropriate. So, why are there dwarves?
So normally, in the main game, each floor or each biome has its own set of enemies, but in the Shadow Vault, they just sort of toss them all together.
You're picking up like unidentified stuff. Is that you have to like fix that up in town? Like take it to a
Actually, I can
what are they called?
use identify scrolls.
Appraiser.
I don't know if
Or
there's
appraisal.
I don't know if there's an appraiser in town, but I've got identify scrolls that I can use.
Were there unidentified items in the original Fate?
Yes, there were. I know Fate had an appraiser in town.
The UI absolutely looks so similar. Not necessarily in layout, but in its art direction.
Yeah, it's the art direction. It's not the same as Fate. I think this one was trying to channel World of Warcraft a bit more. Fate had a bit more of a, I don't want to say generic art direction, but it was more, well, it wasn't quite as like colorful and exaggerated. I mean, except for the little hobbits. Okay, I'm gonna send my pet back to town.
What do the pets do?
Well, the pet can attack enemies. It's not very useful at that. The main purpose of the pet is that it acts as a second inventory, and you can send the pet back to town to sell vendor trash for you.
Wait, your dog can go buy and sell things?
It can't buy things, but it can sell things. So if I put anything in the dog's inventory, and then I click this button to send it to town, it'll sell whatever's in its inventory, and then it'll come back to me with the gold.
That's kind of crazy. I mean, not from a mechanical standpoint. From a mechanical standpoint, it makes perfect sense. I just can't imagine a dog doing that. What kind of pets are available?
So I know Fate let you pick between a dog and a cat. This one has a dog and a cat. I don't know if Torchlight 1 has more, but I think Torchlight 2 lets you have a ferret as well.
Well, that is a little disappointing, but I suppose, maybe they're going for legacy with the option to only choose a dog and a cat. Personally, I feel like a snake shouldn't be out of the question, but it's even more unbelievable that a cat would go back to town and sell something for you.
Yeah. Actually, that's not unbelievable. What's unbelievable is that the cat would come back and give you the money.
So the dungeons, before I forget again, I keep forgetting. Are these randomized or are they set?
The dungeon, so in the main dungeon, the floors themselves are randomized, but the biome order is set. In the Shadow Vault, it's completely random.
Oh, okay. So the
So
biomes go in random order too?
in the Shadow Vault, yeah. So the next floor, it could be the Black Fortress, or the Dwarven Ruins, or the Hell Prison.
I suppose that's nice.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't add any new biomes, so...
Yeah, I suppose that they added the Shadow Vault after they were done with the game, more or less.
Yeah.
So what is the goal for each floor, aside from any quests you might have picked up?
It's just to reach the end and find as much treasure along the way as you can.
So the main story in Torchlight, I assume it was to defeat a big bad evil bad guy.
Yeah, when it starts out, I know each of the character classes has like a backstory about why they've come to Torchlight. I don't entirely remember what they are. But when you reach Torchlight, you find it's like under attack by monsters that are coming out of the ember mines, and when you come to Torchlight, there's this woman and her bodyguard, and they chase some monsters down into the mines, and then the bodyguard dies, and oh crap. I'll just go back to town, sell some junk. Yeah, so she's the main quest NPC. When you get to town, her and her bodyguard, they're chasing monsters over into the mines here, and I think like she got a letter from her old master or something, and he's like been corrupted by the villain, who's like this ancient demon or something, who's apparently corrupting all of the ember. Which is, ember is like the magic ore.
Well, hello.
I mean, I know that she's, as you said, the primary quest NPC, but it does seem a little odd that she's just permanently walking in a square in the center of town.
Good day to you.
Yeah, and I don't know why she... I don't know why she still has the question mark, because
For Torchlight and for me, I cannot thank you enough, my friend.
that's all she says after the main quest is over.
That's, I guess that's her life now, is walking in a square forever.
Yeah, this the game doesn't really have an ending. I think you can talk to this guy to retire your character and start New Game Plus, sort of like you could in Fate, or you can just do the infinite post-game Shadow Vault dungeon.
So, by doesn't have an ending, do you mean like, well, there's a final boss, right? Like,
Yeah, there's a final boss, and then once you beat the final boss, that's it. You go back to Torchlight. Syl thanks you, and then that's the end of that.
That is incredibly disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, not as disappointing as the original ending to Eye of the Beholder, but...
I actually don't know what that is.
So, now, I haven't finished... Uh-oh, yep, that's the Dark Zealot. So, the Dark Zealot has 3 attacks. One of them is a series of, like, these green projectiles that home in on you. The other is to summon these little skeletons, and you want to keep your distance because she also has a, like this red electric laser, and if it hits you, it's basically a guaranteed one-hit kill.
Oh, that's no matter what level you are, huh? It's that powerful.
Yeah, and yeah, and she can basically hit you as long as she has line of sight, so you can't dodge it. You basically have to clear enough distance. So they're pretty lethal if you encounter them in areas where there's not a lot of cover to run away from them.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you picked the character that needs to run away and recover. Even though this game looks a lot like Fate, it is definitely worth saying that they cleaned up some stuff. Like in the original Fate, the health bars were just solid red blocks pretty much with the enemy's name dead in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And here they have like a proper dressing around the bar, and the names and information are both above and below it. Looks a lot cleaner.
Yeah, they definitely did up the presentation a lot.
So, Fate had a few expansions, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends on if you count them as expansions or sequels. It's a bit nebulous.
If they got their own physical release and could be played separately, I'd probably call it a sequel.
Yeah, I guess that means they were sequels. Yeah, Undiscovered Realms was the first one. Yeah, Undiscovered Realms. Then I think the Traitor's Soul was the next one after that, and then the Cursed King was the final one. Ow, crap. So yeah, that. They can one-shot you. I believe the Cursed King actually did finally add multiplayer.
Oh,
So,
really? To Fate?
Yeah. So it is a little weird that Torchlight didn't have multiplayer.
Well, I mean, what? It came out after, didn't it? Like the
Yeah.
Wild King came out after Torchlight. Not the Wild King, the Cursed King came out after Torchlight.
I'm actually not sure if it came out after Torchlight.
I mean, the release date I saw might not have been accurate, but I was fairly certain that it did, which, I mean...
Well, maybe it did.
I'm really scraping my memory, but I've only played the first one. And then later in life somehow came into possession of that box set that had the first 3 games all together, sort of programmed into one experience, where you could access any of the 3 games from the town.
Yeah, I think that's I think I think the Traitor Soul included the first 2 games in it.
Then yeah, it was probably that. I don't think I actually played it. I only remember playing the first one, which I got more or less brand new. But I think, quite famously, the game was only $20, brand new. So. And that was like kind of a big deal at the time, I think, for the kind of content it had, for it to only be $20.
Ow. Yeah, that back then when you're a penniless child, it's cool when you find a game with a lot of content that's also pretty cheap.
So is there like a penalty to dying?
So when you die, you have 3 options. You can sacrifice fame and experience to revive on the spot. You can sacrifice a certain amount of gold to revive on the spot, or you can get sent back to town and lose nothing.
Right.
And you can basically circumvent the get sent back to town penalty by making sure you have an open portal before you die.
Right. So, assuming you put a portal down, there's no real penalty to dying, right? Like,
Basically, yeah.
that seems unfortunate. What are the costs to putting a portal down?
Well, you need a town portal scroll, which are not that expensive actually.
It seems like more or less the ability to put a portal down and then just teleport back to town and not lose any progress kind of negates any potential challenge in dying.
Well, one of the downsides is that if you use if you use a portal to return to town, when you return back to the dungeon, the portal vanishes, so you have to put a new portal. And yeah, you can it's basically just becomes a matter of remembering to place the portal every
Yeah,
time.
that just sounds like the portal scrolls are like extra life bottles that require a little more work to use, but it sounds like as long as you have an ample amount of them, there's no penalty for dying in this game.
Basically, yeah.
That's a little unfortunate. I imagine that adds to the monotony a bit, that there's no real downside to losing except that you just run back to where you
Yeah.
were.
I mean, I would say that, except because of enemies like the Dark Zealots that can one-shot you from off-screen. Because I know game would be quite a bit more annoying if you couldn't cheese it like that.
It definitely sounds like a balancing problem, though.
Yeah,
Like,
this game does not have good balancing.
it sounds like, I mean, you don't want, like, this game's thing is it's trying to be challenging. You don't want the player to have a super easy method to circumvent all of the challenge like that. But if the balancing is that bad, then I guess it's good that they have it anyway.
I know these mini bosses are annoying. Because if you're playing as a ranged character, it's basically impossible for them to hit you. But they have an obnoxious amount of health, so just gotta...
Yeah, it seems like you're not really in danger, but it's taking a while. You ever play Space Hack?
Is that a NetHack variant?
No. It is another Diablo-like top-down action RPG dungeon crawly thing.
No, I haven't played it.
I'm definitely interested. to hear like anyone's opinion on Space Hack because I just haven't found anyone else who's played it that I've talked to.
I'll definitely look into it.
I like the music. Not in this game, in Space Hack. I don't have any opinion on the music in this game.
Yeah, this game doesn't really have much music. The music in Fate was a lot more memorable. Which is ironic considering Fate's music was public domain, just Celtic harp stuff.
Yeah, but it inspired you to become a bard, so...
Yeah. So I got a phase portal. So sometimes they're like these little ghostly enemies, and if you kill them, they open phase portals where you get ganked by a bunch of enemies that are much stronger than you. Or most of the time, anyway.
It doesn't look like it's too tough yet.
No, not yet, but... The phase portals, so there's usually a couple different types of... The phase portals usually send you to smaller floors, which are based on the main biomes, but I believe they have set layouts that don't change. The worst is if the phase portal sends you to a Black Fortress map, because those ones are just like these big open arenas that spawn multiple Dark Zealots and there's no cover. So you basically just warp in and die instantly.
That sounds excruciating.
So yeah, this is the is based on the mines biome.
I really like this one.
Uh-oh.
I think it looks nicer than the what was it called? The dark dungeon, the crypt, the
area I was just in was the Tomb of the Awakened biome.
yeah, that thing. I definitely think this one looks more pleasant, though they're both rather dark.
Yeah.
So I would assume the town of Torchlight is called Torchlight because of the big torchlight in the middle.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Does the town itself have any like particular lore or?
I don't think so. It's a mining town that's built, and the mines happen to be on top of like multiple ancient civilizations.
Man, that's real bad luck.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to see. So you get health back when you shoot enemies, or?
It's my bow has health steal.
Oh, okay.
From the gem I put in it. Yeah, this game has gems like Fate and Diablo. Oh, another sponge.
I can tell. They're at level 100. Given the relative tankiness of everything you fought so far, I'm surprised that you're at the level cap.
Yeah, well, you cap out at 100 levels, and that happened a while ago for me.
Yeah, it just seems surprising to me because if you're at the max level, I would figure that the enemies would be much less spongy. Oh, it's a brown recluse, but a monster in a in a video game.
Yeah, as a shadow recluse.
Those will kill you dead. We had a lot of those in Ohio.
Yeah, we have a lot of them here where I live too. Actually, they won't kill you. They'll just rot off whatever they bite.
Generally, you don't want that.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'm not sure like how far the rotting goes. I thought maybe it just went indefinitely until it was treated, but maybe it just plops your arm off.
It depends on like where they bite, I think. Presumably, like if they bite an extremity, it's worse than if they bite a larger area. Like, you know, if I suppose if they bite you on the stomach, you know, you're not gonna lose your whole abdomen. But if they bite your hand, you know, it may rot too much skin to...
I think if these ones bit you, you might lose your whole abdomen.
Well, at this size, yeah. Well, actually, I don't know, because isn't it with bugs, the larger they are, the less potent their venom is?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah. Of course, these are magical demon spiders, so I suppose all bets are off.
Oh, another sponge.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm starting to see why why you weren't having a great time playing through the Shadow Vault.
Yeah, in retrospect, I probably shouldn't even be bothering with these types of areas.
I mean, if I were playing, I would definitely avoid fighting every enemy I could possibly avoid just to get to the exit. But it's also the case that they put this content here under the assumption that somebody would want it.
Yeah, well, the big problem is, because of how spongy some enemies are, you don't want to leave too many alive, because then if you run into a sponge, you might have like half a dozen spiders coming at you from behind, and that's not a great spot to be in. But
Yeah, you definitely, obviously, have a lot more experience with the game than I do.
yeah. Although really, I mean, seeing as I'm at max level and I have what seems to be the best gear I'm gonna get, I should probably, I guess, be focused more on reaching the end of the floor so I can get through all this stuff.
That might make it easier on you, considering you said you weren't having the best time.
Yeah. The really grind-heavy games are kind of weird like that, because it almost like it... Because like you're never really sure if what you're doing is actually fun or not.
I mean, I think
Although I
we can
suppose when you reach the end and there's technically no more progression, then the grind does start to get pretty annoying.
Yeah, especially in this case, I think we can determine that you weren't having a good time for multiple reasons. One of them being that you told me. I think that's probably the primary evidence.
Okay, this is a weird little puzzle. I'm not sure how this is... Okay. Okay, there it goes.
We did it. We solved it. I'm not sure what it was or how we solved it, but we solved it.
Oh. Got somebody sneaking up on me. Yeah, so my main build I've been using is explosive shot, and then I have some passives for critical strikes and ranged weapon expertise. So, and I got some other passives too, but my main build is focusing on ranged weapons and critical strikes, and then my explosive shot and fletchets are my main two special abilities I use.
Definitely a big fan of the bow healing you.
You have sprung a trap.
I am overburdened.
Yeah, they even bring back the narrator telling you you've sprung a trap.
My inventory is full.
That definitely strikes me as odd. That's a Gauntlet carryover for sure, but like this game's much less arcadey than Gauntlet.
Well, the Fate had a narrator too.
Yeah,
Narrators actually aren't that unusual in RPGs, because it's sort of meant to like harken back to having a dungeon master, you know, narrating stuff to the players.
I didn't think about that. It seemed a little too infrequent, but I
Well,
suppose
yeah,
I
and
can see where they're coming from.
in this game it is. I know Fate used it a lot more frequently. Like in this game, the character will you know, announce whenever their health is low. But like in Fate, the narrator would tell you when your health is low. They, you know, tell you you know, when your pet was fleeing. Whenever you try to enchant something, they do it in this one too. Uh-oh. Whenever you like go to combine items or enchant an item, you know, it'll if you succeed, he'll say like fortune smiles upon you and stuff like that.
That's cute. I definitely didn't think about it like that before. I appreciate it a lot more now.
I can't carry anymore.
I used to think of narrators in games as something that was like part of a more arcadey theatrical experience, but given
My pack is full.
given the similarity to tabletop RPGs, it's entirely different.
Yeah, I think it usually depends on like how the narrator delivers their lines. Because like in something like this, where it's like a soft-spoken narrator, that's meant to channel tabletop stuff. I know when some games have like narrators that's sort of meant to evoke like a sort of a storybook vibe. And then arcade games have their announcers, you know.
Your pet has departed.
I'm curious, like, since this game, I'm pretty sure came out before Torchlight, the developers of this couldn't have worked on Fate 4, right? Like,
I don't know actually. Let me flex my Google foo real quick. Let's see. Fate. Okay, Fate the Cursed King came out in 2011.
right? So a couple years after Torchlight.
Well, I'll just confirm real quick. When did Torchlight come out? Okay, yeah, Torchlight 1 came out in 2009.
Torchlight 2 was 2012, so that means it was only a year before Torchlight 2.
Oh, there's the floor down. Although one thing I've realized playing a ranged character is that I'm surprised more of these games don't or didn't have controller support, because really they kind of feel like they're built for like a twin stick setup.
I mean, I agree. I would definitely feel more comfortable playing these left click heavy games with a controller and just aiming my character with the right stick.
Okay, so we're on floor 47. This is the Molten Prison biome.
It looks very similar to the other one, except it's on fire. Heavy on the fire. I wonder if you were this near, like, I mean, obviously you can't be this near lava because you would combust, but I wonder if you were this near lava and somehow still alive, whether everything would actually be this orange.
Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of funny sometimes that, like, from everything, you know, I've played, it's like only Metroid and the N64 Zelda games acknowledge that heat convection is a thing. It's like in every other video game you can be as close to lava as you want. As long as you're not touching it, you're fine.
I mean, it's definitely in multiple Zelda and Metroid games. But those are the primary examples I can think of.
Yeah, I know it's in the two N64 Zeldas and then Breath of the Wild.
It's also in Skyward Sword.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that part.
I mean, you don't ever have to go into a burning area without the fire earrings, I think. But yeah. If you do, it's same as the 64 games. That lava is surprisingly, I suppose maybe it's magma, but either way it is surprisingly still.
Yeah, that's the rendering power of a 2009 mid-budget game. I mean, I suppose I'll give them some credit. At least they didn't just, you know, put a water texture and color it orange.
I mean, I think it looks pleasant, especially given the art style. Like,
yeah.
It's nice art. It's just, it's not moving like I would have expected. And that probably helps with, like, it probably runs a lot nicer on 2009 computers because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, this game actually has a netbook mode. Because remember when netbooks were a thing?
I do. Some of my family members had a few. I can't imagine you'd want to buy a netbook to play video games on. Those big purple dragons look a lot like a Yu-Gi-Oh card called Meteor Dragon. That may only be because I am looking at them from a distance, but the similarity is noticeable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thankfully,
Pack is full.
these don't shoot meteors.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, given the biome. Like if they
Yeah.
just carved up a big molten rock, I would totally totally expect that.
Yeah, so this level has a lot of that where you'll go up some stairs and realize it leads nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, at least it happened fairly instantaneously. Like, it's not like you went on a long path to find out that went nowhere. But this late in the game, I imagine it's like, it's tiresome at this point.
Yeah.
So these big statues, are they indicative of anything? Like,
I think those are supposed to be dwarves.
it's more like golems to me.
I think the like the little whenever you enter a new biome, they like give you a little excerpt from the villain's journal. And I think he mentioned the molten prison was built by dwarves. I think. Let's see, is this the main path? Yeah, it looks like it.
Were they trying to detain in a prison made of lava?
I don't know. I think it was one of the bosses you fight in the campaign.
So I understand like the need to have a cursor because it's a mouse control only game. A cursor is a little goofy.
Oh, you mean because it looks like a gauntlet?
And then it turns into a sword. But it reminds me of those like mouse cursor websites where you get funny hands or animals or swords and stuff, and I just think it might look a bit more professional if it was just like some sort of cleaned uniform cursor.
Yeah. I mean, that's also one of those things from the mid to late 2000s that wasn't exactly out of the ordinary. I remember the first Witcher did it too. I know it was especially common in 90s PC games.
I think a lot of MMOs still do it, but the default is still some kind of normal cursor. Usually, even if it's a stylized normal cursor, it usually has a fairly traditional pointer.
Oh, a troll. Oh.
All right, Sweet Pea. I think that we may have to tap out and come back to this another time.
Yeah, this is going a lot slower.
I mean, we got an hour done. That's not bad. We did conquer a floor, but you were not kidding about this game wearing at you. I think next time I might need to bring a 5-hour energy.
Yeah, this this game is quite quite a slog. But yeah, thanks for hanging around while I slog through that.
I mean, I love spending time with you, so it wasn't anything to do with you. It's just, I mean, and I'm determined, and if we were in the same room, I would have no trouble keeping going. But when I have to sit in one place next to a mic, you know.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated it. I loved learning about the game and more about games that you love. Learning about you is always a lovely time. So thank you for having me, Sweet Pea.
Yeah, thank you for being here.